Old Grumpy Hunter here. How many of you considered flight time? Most of us look at flight times when it comes to flying someplace. But have you looked at your arrow's flight time? How long does it take your arrow to go 20 yards? What about 30 yards? Yes, I'm going to be talking about speed, but maybe not the way you think. The table shown here shows the flight times for a 400 grain arrow out to 20 and 30 yards for initial speeds of 475 feet per second down to 100 feet per second in 25 feet per second increments. An arrow with an initial speed of 300 feet per second and faster will reach the target at 20 yards before the target has a chance to move. At 30 yards, initial speeds of 400 feet per second and faster are needed. How did I come up with those speeds? Well, the speed of sound is 1,125.328 feet per second. The sound of your shot takes 0.05 seconds to go 20 yards and 0.08 seconds to go 30 yards. On top of that, your arrow makes noise as it travels. In past videos, I've talked about the deer's reaction time to sound. Let's take a quick look at that again. Humans have an average reaction time of 0.15 seconds to noise. That is the amount of time it takes us to react after hearing something. It's hard to calculate the deer's reaction time, but we can figure it's faster than ours. Back to those two speeds and how I came up with them. The speeds mentioned before are based on 0.15 second reaction time, and for the sake of this discussion, I'm going to be using that as the deer's reaction time. A deer can be on the move within 0.2 seconds at 20 yards and 0.23 seconds at 30 yards after hearing the sound of the shot. 60 feet divided by the speed of sound equals 0.05 seconds. Add the reaction time of 0.15 seconds and you have 0.2 seconds. 90 feet divided by the speed of sound equals 0.08 seconds. Add in the reaction time of 0.15 seconds and you have 0.23 seconds. Before I go any further, let me remind you that the deer's hearing is similar to ours with one exception. They can hear ultra-high frequencies. I'll be using an arrow that weighs 400 grains with initial speed of 350 feet per second for the base numbers throughout this talk. Let's look at both 20 and 30 yards with that arrow. At 20 yards, when the sound has reached the target, the arrow has gone about 5 yards. When the sound has reached the target at 30 yards, the arrow's gone about 7.5 yards. What's that I hear? Is it, "That looks great on paper, but what about real life?" The numbers are going to be very close unless you're shooting into the wind or have a tailwind. And since you brought up real life, I'm only talking about 30 yards or less. Information provided here is based on the laws of physics. Now that you have all the information to flame me, let's get started. Using the base arrow, it will take 0.17 seconds for the arrow to travel 20 yards and 0.26 seconds to go 30 yards. For 40 yards, the arrow's in the air about 0.35 seconds. 50 yard, it takes 0.44 seconds. 60 yard, the arrow takes 0.54 seconds, and it takes 0.92 seconds to go 100 yards. Besides the longer flight time, your target is getting smaller and the cone of air is getting bigger. The following slides are timed to the flight times I just talked about. Don't blink. Why do we need to worry about flight times? Once the arrow has been released, we no longer have control over anything. Things like downrange wind and animal movement, just to name two. What I'm about to say is going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but remember, I'm talking about 30 yards or less. Would you believe me if I said you can increase your arrow's weight by 50% and only increase the flight time by 0.03 or 3/100ths of a second out to both 20 and 30 yards? At this point I hear a lot of, "No way." What if I said you could double that arrow weight and have only a 5/100th of a second increase out to 20 yards and 8/100th of a second out to 30 yards without making any changes to your bow other than sighting it in? Your arrow cannot outrun the sound of the shot. So why am I suggesting slowing down the arrow? It's more than just slowing the arrow, it's also increasing the weight, which results in more momentum and penetration. If all else remains equal, when increasing arrow weight, there is a reduction in speed. But how much reduction? There is approximately 1 foot per second change inversely for every 5 grains change in arrow weight. In other words, if you increase the weight by 5 grains, the speed will drop by 1 foot per second. Increasing the arrow weight by 25 grains, for example, changing out a 100 grain head for a 125 grain head, there will be a 5 foot per second decrease in speed. I need to point out that the flight times in the tables that are going to be shown won't change much. There are 2 reasons for this. The times won't change because we're talking about thousandths of a second difference in flight times. That's 3 zeros to the right of the decimal point. The calculator only goes to 2 decimal points. Let's compare the numbers of our base arrow, weighing 400 grains that has the initial speed of 350 feet per second, against an arrow weighing 425 grains and has the initial speed of 345 feet per second. There is a 6.25% increase in the arrow weight, which results in a 1/100th of a second increase in flight time to both 20 and 30 yards. When the weight is increased to 450 grains, or 12.5%, that results in a 0.01 second increase to flight time to both 20 and 30 yards. With the arrow now at 500 grains, or a 25% increase in weight, that results in a 0.01 second increase out to both 20 and 30 yards. Increasing the weight by 50%, or adding 200 grains to it, results in a 0.3 second increase of flight time to 20 yards, and a 0.2 second increase 30 yards. What happens when the arrow weight is doubled? There is an increase of 0.05 second out to 20 yards, and a 0.08 second out to 30 yards. To put these flight times in a different perspective, the time it takes for your eye to blink is 0.1 to 0.4 second. All the flight times in these examples have been within the time range it takes your eye to blink. What happens besides longer flight times when you increase the arrow's weight? Less noise from the bow. The heavier arrow takes more stored energy from the bow and string when launched. That results in less excess energy being absorbed by the bow and its components. Being that there's less energy being absorbed by the bow and its components, there's less stress on the bow. What about the arrow? Well, it has more kinetic energy, more momentum, and that results in more penetration. Let's take another look at the table for the 400 grain arrow that was first displayed and compare it to the 600 grain arrow, an increase of 50%. All the flight times are the same for both tables except for 5 spots. Those are highlighted. In those spots, the 600 grain arrow has a shorter flight time. Could it be because of its weight, its momentum is retained and the arrow is not decelerating? So far, I've been focusing on increasing the arrow's weight. What about using a slower bow? Yes, I did say that. Let's take a look at the 2 bows I own and their rated speed. One is rated at 350 feet per second, and the other is rated at 245 feet per second. As already discussed, the bow shooting at 350 feet per second with a 400 grain arrow takes 0.17 seconds to go 20 yards and 0.23 seconds to go 30 yards. The bow shooting at 245 feet per second takes 0.25 seconds to 20 yards and 0.40 seconds out to 30 yards. Both my bows shoot slower than rated because I use heavier arrows. With the slower bow, I'm using an arrow that weighs closer to 467 grains and shoots at 228 feet per second with that arrow. It has killed a wild hog at 28 yards. That arrow was in the air for 0.37 seconds before it hit the hog. The hog ran away with the arrow sticking out both sides. Until that arrow made contact broadside, that hog did not know what was heading its way. That slow shooting bow made noise, but not enough noise to startle the sounder, and none ran away until the one with the arrow stuck in it started running. Take a look at the screenshot from YouTube. A link will be provided in the video description. The bow this young person used is self-made. It has a 20-pound draw weight. The overall weight of the arrow with a 1/4-inch wood shaft was 410 grains, including a 190 grain cut-on contact high mechanical advantage broadhead. The FOC was 27%. That bow has about the same draw length as a crossbow. This hog was both wild and free range. How fast do you think that bow is? I want to point out a few things at this time. The reason I brought up that video is to show you that you do not need an extremely fast bow. I'm not advocating the use of ultralight equipment for hunting big game. Furthermore, I'm not suggesting using extremely slow equipment. That was not a lucky shot by that 7-year-old boy, but a shot from a person who's been involved with hunting and fishing before he could walk. There's been some legality questions about his hunt. He was hunting on private land in a state where there's no restrictions on equipment for hog hunting. You need to watch the video from the boy's father for more information. A link will also be in the video description. I'm not saying you should give up your bow for a slower one, but there are other things to consider than speed when it comes to hunting because the flight times don't change much, if at all. Things like shot noise, accuracy, point of aim versus shot placement, depth of penetration versus pass-through, tracking versus dropping in sight, compensating for elevation, both yours and the target, wind, fixed or mechanical blades, arrow weight, FOC. Let me finish up with this. Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passion, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. John Adams, 2nd President of the United States of America. Thank you for watching this Old Grumpy Hunter presentation. Please give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to push the notification bell.